Hello, welcome back. My name is Jo. We are back on our language learning game. I'm sorry if the fans and everything are loud, but it is quite hot. I finally have caved and turned my AC on to the luxurious temperature of 30 degrees. But anyway, so updates since we last talked in my last vlog. It is now Tuesday. On Sunday, I finished La Infancia Palestina y La Supervivencia, which is a collection of short stories that are kind of fictionalized true stories. So this was written by a Spaniard, but collecting stories from Palestinians. So, not written by a Palestinian, which I would prefer, but it does seem that he put a lot of effort into researching this, and it has a foreword by a Palestinian who apparently worked with him on this to at least some extent. Back in December or something, I went to a talk that they both, were invited to give by a bookstore. So yeah, this was a really good read, obviously quite sad at many points, but also had a lot of, hope and joy and everything as well. Then today I just finished my German graded reader, Mord in der Popakademie. Yeah, this was a really fun graded reader as far as graded readers go. So I did get another one from that same author out from the Goethe Institute library. This one was an A2 reader and I got out an A1 reader. This company or author or whatever does seem to be maybe a little advanced, but I would prefer that. I did end up mostly just reading the whole chapter, and there's audio along with it. And then, because this is a PDF, so you can't look things up easily, which is unfortunate, but I just was taking pictures of the pages with Google Maps, Google Translate, and cross-referencing any words that I didn't know. I do have quite a lot that I want to keep doing this week, as well as, here's my weekly plan, which is walking, reading, and studying every day, along with, some other random stuff that I want to finish or do. But I also have a countdown to moving. I have lots of cleaning and prepping things that I also need to be getting done, so I made a little sheet for that. I'm still moving within Spain, don't worry. I have to go to the dentist, which I am not looking forward to at all, so I'm gonna get ready to do that. It is very hot. I put my clothes up to dry, and I was drenched in sweat by the time I finished doing that, so I need to have a little rinse off and go to the dentist, and then get my clothes down and get drenched all over again in sweat. So anyway, ciao. Hello, good morning. We are reading for 24 hours or something like that. This particular challenge is part of the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do, and specifically the guidelines are just to read for a full day as much as you can from the time you wake up until you go to sleep within a 24-hour period. So, little TBR, I am reading Mi nombre es Emilia del Valle. I have about just under 5.5 hours left of this, according to my Kobo, so this should be finishable today, hopefully. Also, La Región Crepuscular, and I have 3 hours and 17 minutes left. Then I also have a comic that I can read called El Eternauta. This is a Netflix show, so this will be work for and one of the adaptation prompts. But anyway, I listened to my audiobook while I was making my matcha and eating some cereal. Before that, I read for 43 minutes. So we have one little forest tree today so far. Hopefully we will have many more. But yeah, got my matcha. Definitely gonna need the caffeine. The only thing, I do have to go to the dentist at 5 just for a cleaning, so hopefully I don't think that should take too long. Let's get back to reading. Hello. It is much later. So, unsurprisingly, things derailed. It was going pretty well. I wasn't reading quite as much as I was thinking that I would, but I mostly just kept falling asleep. But I had almost 3 hours in of physically reading, and then probably another almost an hour of my audiobook. But then my neighbor knocked on my door and they were having a non-emergency crisis that ended up taking up several hours of my day. So then I went to the dentist and the whole thing just felt kind of anticlimactic at that point. So I decided to, just scrap this and we will continue another day. It is quite late now. I've been just, wasting time. But I am going to take a shower and then I think I'm going to do some studying, maybe some German reading before I go to sleep. So we'll just incorporate this into a language learning vlog instead of a 24 hours of reading vlog. It all works out. It was all Spanish consumption, so that's good. I have been back on my watching things in Spanish grind. Not that it's a grind, but back on that habit. I went through my YouTube subscriptions and playlists and stuff the other day, which took so long, but I cleaned out a whole bunch of my, inactive subscriptions. Some people I do stay subscribed to even if they haven't uploaded in like years because, I'm just holding out hope. But some of them, it's not that important to me to stay subscribed. And then there are people that I'll get obsessed with something and I'll subscribe to a bunch of people and then that doesn't necessarily carry on into the rest of my life. So cleaned out my to watch. So I use my watch later exclusively for Spanish videos. Then I have playlists for English watch later, German watch later, and Portuguese watch later. Yeah, so I cleaned out any videos that I had watched or that I was no longer interested in watching, which to be honest was most of the videos in there. Filled it back up with some things that I actually was interested in watching, and so now I actually have like a backlog of things that I genuinely want to watch. So that's been nice. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to take a shower and then I will, I've been trying to do just like a little 10-15 minutes of grammar study on Lingolia every day so that like it doesn't turn into this big, like feels like a big task where I'm gonna study for like an hour or something. Like if I just do a couple pages and carry on with my day, hopefully we will be able to stick with that. But yeah. It's all well and good selling things online until over the weekend you sell 3 things and they all pick different shipping carriers. So then not only do you have to print labels, you have to run all over the city to different drop-off locations. But money is good. I'm looking glossy, dewy. So I finished my errands. So I'm considering a nice little nap. I've been using this little app called VHS, and it's like an official German course. It's kind of boring, but like I honestly don't really mind that much right now, so I'm just kind of riding up that motivation. Because the problem is I was trying to do things like Nikos Veg or the other video course that they have, Harry something, but the problem is there are things that I need to review from the A1 course, but because it's like videos and stuff, you can't really just like review it really quickly. You have to sit through it, and I cannot sit through it. Like, I can't do it. But I also don't want to just jump ahead. So maybe if I can get through all of the A material on like something, then I'll be able to start fresh with like the B interesting courses. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. For now, I'm not minding doing these exercises. They go by pretty quickly, so we'll see if I can maybe speed run this a little bit. Famous last words. Hello. So I just got back from a little day trip, half-day trip to Sanlúcar de Barrameda, and now I don't have internet. The old part of town, like the touristy center part, is really beautiful. There was a castle. I decided not to go in because it was almost 10 euros, and the reviews online were saying that it's beautiful, but it's pretty small. I went in some bookstores. I got some ice cream. I really wanted to get sushi. They had a place that had vegan sushi, vegetarian sushi, but it was closed. They were closed all of this week. I did finish the audiobook that I was listening to called La Región Crepuscular, which was super interesting. I talked a little bit about it in the last vlog where I was watching an interview with the author, and I have one more interview with the author saved that I do want to watch as well. At least one more. I have one saved. We'll see if I can find other ones. The book is about femicides, murder of women in Mexico, and kind of how I'm trying to examine like the origin of this, like the reason that it continues to be such a prevalent issue. Is kind of true crime, kind of fiction. Like, it is following several true cases, but also some of it's completely fictional as well. I really, really wish there was an ebook available for this. There's not. There's just a paper book. And so I would have really liked to be able to kind of reread certain portions and make sure that I was understanding. You're following a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different timelines. But I did think it was a very thought-provoking, and the interview was even more thought-provoking, I think, than the book. Because something that they mentioned that I've thought about like 5 times since then is like, why does it feel so invasive, or I don't even know how to decide what word to use, to talk about the victims? To us, or to me at least, it feels somehow even more like intimate. I hate that word. But if you have heard of the book The Invincible Summer of Liliana, I read that book, and it's about the author's sister who was murdered by her boyfriend, or her ex-boyfriend, in Mexico in the 90s, I think. She was only like 21 years old, and that book was so devastating to read. It wasn't written in a way of like trying to like drag emotion out of you, but it was devastating to read about a person who you know has been killed. And I think they mentioned in the interview like articles that talk about the victims, like, she wanted this out of her life, she liked this, you know, this was her dream, and how that just feels so like, oh, I don't want to read that, you know, like, reading about the person who was killed feels more violent, even though, like, it shouldn't be, I don't think, you know? It's just something I've been thinking about a lot since I listened to that interview and as I've been listening to this book. So yeah, I would think I would have to reread this book at some point. Hopefully I can at some point read it physically, but it was a very, very thought-provoking book for sure. I think I'm getting close to halfway through my Isabel Allende book, and then I will have my like 3 book little TBR done, and I already have the next one prepared with the next 3 books that I want to read. I also pretty much all day while I was walking around was listening to the Sunrise on the Reaping audiobook in Spanish as well. I started it a while ago, and then it's just kind of been sitting pending while I read other things. So I picked that back up, and we are about halfway through that as well. So while the internet is out, maybe I will transfer my footage, do some more reading. We'll see. Hello, we're back in our corner. I'm going to go to the beach. It's Wednesday at 2 p.m. I almost said a.m. But before that, I want to read some of my graded reader. There's 10 chapters, and I think I've read 2, but these are not super long chapters, obviously, so we shall see. Hello, we're back. So I went to Chiclana de la Frontera today, and I went to a museum to learn about the salt extraction, or whatever you want to call it. I was like, I have been going past the salinas in the Cádiz region this entire year, and if I kind of understand how it works, how they get, you know, the salt out of the water and like collect it, but I was like, I need to just confirm what I assume is happening, know is happening, and learn more about it. So that was interesting. It's a pretty small museum, but it was totally free, and there's a wine and salt section. Also a doll section, which was very strange. I don't know if that was temporary or permanent, and I got fancy coffee, which I haven't had in so long, because here it's mostly just cafe or cafe con leche. So I had a iced coffee with lotus cream and Biscoff flavor or something like that. It mostly just tasted a little bit like cookie butter iced coffee, more just iced coffee than anything else. And they had oat milk, and so yeah, it was good. I recommend. I'll have the name of the place. The toast was really good as well. So anyway, that was fun. I just walked around a little bit. So I did not finish any books. I am quite far in multiple though. I read the 6th chapter out of 10 of my graded reader. I am 59% through my Isabel Allende book. I started the audiobook Perras de Reserva by Dalia de la Cerda, which is a Mexican author, and this is a short story collection. But yeah, it was nice hanging out, having this little busy but pretty good language week. I will see you in the next vlog in a new location. Hasta luego.